Your opening hand is a game plan. Mulligan advice is usually framed as keep or ship. This video goes one level deeper. Your opening hand tells you what game you are allowed to play. The hand is not just a collection of cards, it is the first draft of your game plan. Everyone tells you the mulligan is important, and that's true, but here's the part that gets skipped. What do you do after you mulligan and draw into a hand that is not perfect? Because in real games, you do not always get the clean opener. You do not always get the curve, the payoff, the protection, and the exact matchup card. Sometimes your hand is awkward, and you still have to win. Today, we are talking about how to turn your opening hand into an actual game plan. A lot of players think of the opening hand as binary. Good hand, keep, bad hand, mulligan. But better players do something useful. They ask, after the mulligan, what game am I actually trying to play? That is your key. Your opening hand is not just telling you whether your cards are good, it is telling you your role, your timing, your weak points, and your outs. So in this video, I want to give you a framework for building a plan from turn 1, especially when your hand is suboptimal. The mulligan is not the end of the decision. In Riftbound, the starting hand is only 4 cards, 5th for turn, and the mulligan isn't a magic wand. You can adjust your opener, but you still have to play the hand you end up with. Beginner advice usually says to make sure you could do something early, and that's good advice, right? If you can't meaningfully affect the first couple turns, you're probably giving your opponent too much tempo. But the match actually starts after that, because sometimes the hand isn't perfect, but it is playable, and once you mull, the question changes. It is no longer, is this hand good? It is, what does this hand do well, and what does it fail at? This right here is where most players can improve immediately. I like to sort hands into 5 categories. First, the normal plan hand. This is the easy one. You have early development, a way to contest battlefields, a payoff, and an interaction. You just execute your deck. Second, the slow hand. This hand has power later, but it doesn't really affect the board early enough. If you keep this, your plan is not to play like the aggressor. Your plan is to conserve, avoid bleeding unnecessary resources, and to survive to the turn where your cards actually begin to matter. Third, the pressure-only hand. You have units, you have early plays, but you do not have tricks or protection or any level of inevitability. This hand wants to make your opponent answer you, but it cannot afford fancy combat. This is the hand where you should be careful about taking close fights, because your hand probably can't back them up. Fourth, the interaction-only hand. You have tricks, answers, maybe strong reactive cards, but not enough pressure. This hand needs the opponent to give you something worth answering. Your job is to avoid spending premium interaction on medium threats just because you're bored and searching for agency. And then fifth, the missing piece hand. With how Riftbound decks are built, this is pretty common. You have part of your deck, but not the other part. Maybe you have the setup, but no payoff. Maybe you have the payoff, but no setup. Maybe you have early pressure, you have a trick, but you don't have answers. Maybe you have the cards to win if you draw one specific category. With this hand, you really just need to work on conserving tempo, making sure your resources aren't spent where they don't need to be spent, and you're working through the game plan that your hand is telling you. Once you know which hand you have, you can stop pretending you're playing the ideal version of your deck, and you can build a game plan based off of what your cards are telling you. Play to your outs from turn 1. People love saying to play to your outs in the endgame, but the better habit is to play to your outs from the beginning. If your hand is missing early pressure, your out might be getting to your late game payoff with enough resources intact. If your hand is all pressure and no tricks, your out might be forcing your opponent to spend their first couple of turns answering you, so they can't set up and develop and look to regain tempo. If your hand is interaction heavy, your out might be identifying the exact threat or threat range that matters, and just refusing to waste your cards on anything else. This is the difference between arbitrarily playing your cards and playing a game plan. Your out is not always a card. Sometimes it is a sequence. A lot of players lose with passable hands because they try to play the hand as if it is a perfect hand. If the opener is slow, you can't take every fight. If your opener is low resources, you can't spend every single card. If your opener is missing a payoff, you can't throw away any cards without having access to draw or filtering. Here we have our first example hand. Slow, but powerful. You can see we're playing against Diana. We are on the play, and we missed a 2-drop unit, which is unfortunate, but that's okay. Diana is not known for being a super fast deck, interaction heavy, but we have a couple of things here. We have Camel, which is insane in this matchup. We have Multiple Defies, which is another excellent card in this matchup. We have Protection later in the turns in the form of Zonias and On Guard. And we have a turn 2 play in Yi. A weaker player here, post-mulligan, would just panic because they're behind early. They're going to start spending cards inefficiently just to feel like they're doing something. A stronger player says, this hand is not going to be winning the first or maybe even the second exchange. This hand is going to be trying to keep the game close enough that my powerful card, Camel, matters. That changes everything. We're not fighting for every battlefield. We're not going to try to defend a hold just because we can. We are trying to preserve the resources that lets our late card swing the game. Since this hand is slow, my goal is to buy time. I'm going to play my Yi turn 2. I'm going to move in. I'm going to try to save some points. 6 runes. I'm going to play my Camel. I'm going to have my Zonias. Everything is going to be happy and copacetic. Then we can actually start playing the game, slowly clawing back tempo, resources, so on and so forth. Here's our next example hand. We have early units in our 2-drop, and then next turn we can go 2-drop Hopeful, and then third turn we can go Ferris Forerunner. We have a decent curve here, but we have no reactions, no tricks, no defensive layer at all. This hand can absolutely win games, but it wins games by making your opponent answer you, not by taking every single close showdown they offer you. If you run this hand into a complicated fight, which often happens against Diana in this example, where your opponent has resources open, you are asking to get punished. With this hand, the plan should be clean pressure, conquer when they're weak and tapped out, force them to spend real cards, and avoid making board states where your entire game depends on a trick that you don't have. The next piece I want to talk about is building a 2-turn or more script. This is a practical habit I want you to try after you mulligan. Build a 2-turn script. Not a rigid script. Riftbound changes way too much for that, but a starting plan. What am I doing on turn 1? What am I doing on turn 2? What cards can I draw and what do they do? And what resource am I preserving? What battlefields am I willing to get up and what fight am I or am I not taking? The last one is huge, right? A plan is not just what you do, but what you also decline to do. So in this example, I would probably just play 2-drop pass. Opponent would probably develop their Diana. I would likely go into a battlefield. I'll play Hopeful, depending on what I draw. If I draw another 2-drop, then it's 2-drop Hopeful. And then I will hold up Flash, so I can try to keep that battlefield so I can go to 2 points. And then the turn afterward, 3-turn clock, I'm going to look to develop my Ferris Forerunner. That is my soft 3-turn plan. Any card I draw can modulate this plan. If I draw another 2-drop, I'm going 2-drop Hopeful. And then I can work to pressure that other battlefield. And then the next turn, I can still develop my Forerunner. If I draw a stack deck, then I'm going to go stack deck, find a card, hopefully a good trick, some potential answers middle of the game, like an Abandon or a Hard Bargain, and then I'm going to play my Noxus Hopeful. And then after that, I'm still going to try to go into Forerunner. If I draw a Rengar, maybe I try to develop Rengar now, because Forerunner is not really that great against the Diana deck. They play a lot of Starcrossed, and they're going to find it. That is what I mean by building a soft script. What am I missing? What does this hand do well? Am I supposed to pressure, survive, trade resources? And what draw or sequence could I have to unlock this hand? And what mistake makes this hand collapse? And that is the video. Next video, we're going to talk about one of the most important card game fundamentals. Are you supposed to play fast or slow? Your deck choice doesn't automatically decide your role. Your hand, matchup, points, and board state do. Like the video, subscribe for more Riftbound Fundamentals videos, and comment with a starting hand you weren't sure how to play. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.